Nation Fit in 10, welcome to day 10 of the challenge. We are officially 1/7 through the challenge, and reminder, your next scan is going to be coming up during our I said 5th week, I think, in one of my videos. I don't know what I was thinking. No, it's going to happen during the 4th week, which will be like somewhere around the 25th or so of October. I think I wrote to you guys, or when you came and saw me for your first scan, I said the 29th, but in fact it'll happen just a couple days before the 29th. So just FYI on that. That is coming up. So you can kind of think about that as being, what are we today? Monday. So like 16 days from now. All right, it's gonna come up fast. Take advantage of every single day. And listen, if you aren't perfect, don't worry about that. Listen, I'm gonna criticize you like I want you to be perfect. I understand that you're not perfect. I understand that, you know, that I don't have an expectation for you to be perfect. Okay, but I'm going to still find those things and I'm going to point them out to you. Okay, so just understand that, right? I don't want to not say anything about certain things that you may or may not know about, right? So I will point out everything, and of course, yeah, we just want to do our best. And listen, some is certainly better than none. Of course, more is better than some, but being perfect is obviously ideal. We just want to work on improving, right? Okay. So on that note, just a reminder that your journal entries are only as good as what they actually represent. All right, so just try to do your best to find what you're accurately having. Also try to use the accurate measurement. All right, so for example, if you're eating, this is not something I'd recommend eating, but I did see this entry. Ribs measured in cups, not really, definitely not accurate at all. Okay, and ribs are also usually have the bone, and it's just, and then there's usually a bunch of different marinade on it, etc. It's just not accurate unless you have exactly the product in hand. Again, it's still, even if you do have the product in hand, it's still going to be an estimation. So again, try to stick to real whole foods. Try to make all your own food. And again, when we talk about real whole foods, think basic eating, okay? Think about your protein strong foods, the foods that are primarily, and there's lots of them out there, that are primarily almost 100% by calories protein. Think about eating those foods as your protein sources. It makes things very easy. I'll tell you why it makes it easy in a second if you don't already know. Carbohydrates, think about your foods that are primarily carbohydrate or 100% carbohydrate or near 100% carbohydrate. Your fruits, your vegetables, your starches like tubers, yams, potatoes, rice, etc. Quinoa and oatmeal are not maybe the best examples because they got a little bit of protein and stuff like that, but by and large they are carbohydrates. And fats, your oils, butter, yes, real whole butter, nothing wrong with that at all. Avocado. Okay, avocado does have some carbohydrates, but it is just fiber, so you don't really have to worry about that. Think about those basic foods. Basic foods, all right? So I don't expect you to be exactly like me, but I'll just give you a quick rundown if you don't already know about some of the foods I like to eat. I have 2 meals per day, which are usually rice and some kind of meat or poultry. That's it, with some vegetables. Okay, so those 2 of my meals. So it's very, very basic. I get some fat in the meat, not very much. I get the carbohydrates from the rice, and I make it basically fit my macros. And it's very easy to do that because I have, I can just add or take away meat if I need to add or remove protein. I can just add or remove rice if I need to add or remove carbohydrates, right? I'm not toying with any of their macronutrients when I do that. All right, for breakfast, I like to have oatmeal with egg and egg whites, and I add fruit to it. So I got my oatmeal and my fruit, which is primarily carbohydrate, almost entirely carbohydrate. And then I've got my egg and egg white, which is primarily protein. Of course, I'm gonna get a little bit of fat with the yolk. Okay, and I usually add some Greek yogurt to that, which is primarily protein, almost 100%. So when we use these basic foods, if I want more protein that meal, I could add a little more yogurt or take away yogurt. I can add some egg white or take away some egg white. It's very, very easy. I have another meal in the day, which is a smoothie. Okay, I typically do banana, pineapple. Again, those are just pure carbohydrate sources, so I can scale those up or down, however which way I want. And then protein powder, which that is primarily just protein. It is almost 100% protein. And I put in some Greek yogurt in there, again, almost 100% protein. And do I add anything else to that? Typically not. Yeah, just the 4 ingredients. And then I use water for the obviously the liquid base. It'd be too thick, obviously. Okay, so just think basic foods. Basic foods. All right. One more reminder, it'll make your life way easier. Think basic foods, and it's gonna be much, much healthier, and it's gonna be much cheaper, and it's gonna be much more nutritious for you, okay? Pre-plan for the day. I've gotta say this again, pre-plan. If you're gonna try to wing this, you're never gonna get your numbers, okay? You gotta just pre-plan. Make your meals in advance. It's not that hard to do, all right? We did this as kids, our mothers did this for us, or maybe you did it for yourselves. I know I did it at some point through my adolescence. So if you're gonna make your own food, just put the extra attention and care into it and make it right, all right? Just like a recipe you would make, you would have to measure out all the ingredients so that it fits the recipe. It's kind of the same idea that you're doing here, right? Question about cracking joints or clicking joints. Somebody wrote that they're experiencing more pain, not pain, they're experiencing more cracking, or maybe they meant clicking, but they did say cracking, than ever. What's the best remedy for this? Honestly, the best remedy for this is to work a joint through full range of motion with lots of repetition and light weight, okay? Or no weight, okay, like body weight. Well, that could be maybe too much weight for you. But think about taking a joint through full range of motion. So for example, you have bad knees. Now you may not be able to do this right off the bat, but ultimately what we'd want to work towards is getting through full range of motion in squatting, like squatting all the way down and all the way up, working the joint through full range of motion, getting lots of volume and blood flow and movement to the joint. Motion is lotion. There's more truth to this. I can tell you right now, I appreciate this saying more than ever, motion is lotion. As I've experienced some injuries throughout the years, and now I do some, I really hate doing it because it's so boring, but it makes such a difference. I do some general movement throughout the day. I basically do these movements, which are just like body weight based or less, where I take my body through different movements and work the joint through a range. And this really helps to keep the joint healthy. It takes away any pain that I might be having, but most importantly, it really helps to support the joint. The joint just feels like it's been greased, so to speak. I'm at 8 minutes. Message of the day. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about this more tomorrow. Habits over motivation and discipline even. Discipline doesn't really mean too much. Motivation doesn't mean too much. Like these things are kind of like, they kind of come and go. We just have to build habits. So, I mean, you might say, well, in order to build a habit, you have to be disciplined, sure. But once something becomes a habit, it becomes much easier. So you might think that doing something really hardcore right now or challenging for you is just not feasible for long term. But if you make it a habit, like I'll give you an example. There's foods I don't even measure out. Like I don't really bother measuring out. Typically I don't. Things like lettuce and stuff that's basically calories. But it's such a habit that my whatever dish goes on the scale, and then I start putting in lettuce. I'm like, and I turn on the scale. And I'm like, why am I measuring this? I don't even have to. Point is, it's just a habit, right? So if you make it a habit, it won't seem hard at all, okay? All right, 9 minutes. Terrible today for my timing on this. Do your best. I don't expect perfection. I will keep critiquing you, so just be aware of that. It's not meant to be negative in any way, shape, or form. It's just meant to show you where we can improve if you don't already know, which you may already know. All right? Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, for the love of God, give some gratitude. I'll talk to you all tomorrow.